evening, everyone, especially you here in Chicago. Thank you for joining us today for the Equal Hope segment right here on CAN TV. That's where we are. I'm so happy that you could join us. We are kicking off the holiday season, and I hope it's going well for you. And I just have to remind, everyone that while it's happy and merry for some, it's not happy and merry for everybody. And this conjures up a lot of emotional hardship for some people. So keep that in mind. Just be mindful of your neighbor. I would also remind you that Equal Hope is a nonprofit organization committed to eradicating the health disparities right here in Chicago. How are we going to do that? By offering free services, free mammograms, free cervical screenings, free primary care appointments. They'll help you with vaccines. They'll help you with HPV, COVID, flu vaccines, linking you to your medical homes. They will assist you. We have a Latina navigation team that is there for all of our Latina sisters, so there's no excuses. Don't deny, verify. Early detection saves lives. Give them a call. 312-942-3368, or you can visit equalhope.org. Bada bing, bada boom. That's a great Christmas present to give somebody, the gift of life. If you know somebody, your loved one, neighbor, sister, mother, auntie has not had a mammogram, they're over 40 for whatever reasons, underinsured, uninsured, or just unsure, then give them a call. 312-942-3368. So I would like to introduce this month's guest. His name is Mr. Renaldo Hudson.
Yay.
He is the Director of Education at the Illinois Prison Project. And today's discussion is understanding and preventing violence here in Chicago. Thank you for joining us today, Renaldo.
Thank
you so much. We'll just jump right in. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Mr. Renaldo Hudson.
Thank you, Dana. One of the things I do want to take a moment, and I don't want to do this to embarrass you,
yes,
but to acknowledge one of the things, the most amazing things that happened for me after 37 years of incarceration is I met you. I didn't meet the celebrity. I met the person.
Amen.
And when I walked out with a lot of trauma. I walked out with a lot of insecurities, and you stood beside me, and you supported me, and you showed me what a friend looks like. And so thank you, Dana Divine. I know that wasn't intended, but to embarrass you, but to acknowledge, because I think it doesn't happen enough.
Amen.
That we don't stop and say thank you to the people who...
And you did it publicly. I like it.
And I think it's real because can't nobody tell me about you. I know about you. I met you. And I met you, the private you, right? And you invited me into your family. So thank you, Dana Divine. I love you so much.
And I love you so much.
That being said, I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
No.
Because
you have an amazing story. Go right ahead.
No, I really do. And I really don't hesitate to tell people that I am an advocate of hope. And one of the beautiful things that I get to do is I get to work for one of the most amazing organizations called the Illinois Prison Project. I happen to be the Director of Education for this 5-year-old organization which works to inspire and to introduce hope into the world. Hope into people that hope has been ripped away from. And so just in 5 years, we've brought home, right, under the leadership of our Executive Director, Jennifer Sobel, right, over 150 people. Right? We have legs of our organization that consist of direct legal representation, which is the lawyers, right? Making lawyer decisions, not me. And then we have the women and survivors, a leg of our organization that deals with, for example, like how do you talk about and address the importance of domestic violence and how so many sisters and non-binary friends of ours, trans men and trans women, people who get marginalized, get represented in a way so that their story is actually told. What happened to this person? Why are they in prison for defending themselves against a violent partner? So we are really a strong organization to make sure that the voices of women are really heard. And one of the things that we really want to, and this may be triggering for people, but during the holidays, domestic violence tend to increase. And people get frustrated for all type of different reasons. And I want to say to anyone that is under any distress, please reach out to someone. Reach out to, organizations that will really help you. The Women's Justice Institute over on Canal, 21st and Canal, is an amazing place. In fact, I'm playing Santa Claus on the 8th over there. So if you have any children, you're directly impacted, or you're just a person in the community, stop by. And if you're grown, you can sit on Santa's lap. If you're not, you can't, right? Secondly, I just want to say that because it's important. Then my leg of the Illinois Prison Project, which is the education department, which I get to lead a team of 5, but I also lead an ambassador program. In fact, one of our ambassadors is sitting out in the audience. I get to tease him. Stanley John Howard, an amazing person who served over 30 plus years, wrongfully convicted, but he recognized that it's not about innocence or guilt, but it's about what true justice looks like. And so as a Hope organization, we want to say to people, what does hope look like to you and how do you support it? Right? I would encourage people all the time, look us up. Don't just, listen to me. Trust like your own instinct and look into the records, look into the websites, look into these spaces where work is being done. And then you can kind of get a sense of what we do. But I love the fact that after 37 years of incarceration, from 7 years in the Cook County Jail, 13 years on Illinois' death row, and then another 17 years with life without the possibility of parole, I get to remind people that I am a physical manifestation of what hope should and could look like. I received clemency from not just one governor, but 2 governors, right? Which means from my death sentence to a life sentence, right? And then, and during this process, I want to be clear, I facilitated hundreds of conversations with young men that were dealing with violence, that was dealing with unaddressed trauma. And what I discovered is that most of us, I include myself, I caused harm. And that harm led to the loss of a man's life. But I now lead an effort to bring healing into the world, to bring reconciliation, to bring restorative justice practices, and to spaces where I get to say to people, I was not exonerated, I was liberated. And so the violence that we see in the community is oftentimes unaddressed trauma. It's not to make excuses. We got to figure out how to stop it. And it starts with us talking to people rather than talking at people. Like many of the young people don't have anyone that they could trust, right? And so all the conversations are being had around them rather than with them.
What can you define true justice for me?
I would give you my definition. I might be in trouble because I have a lawyer, right? But I'll say it like this. True justice to me isn't a lens of innocence or guilt. Is that did we give this person that's standing before a judicial seat a fair opportunity to be heard? In most judicial or legal cases, you have what's called aggravating factors, which are the facts of the case. And then you have oftentimes what's marginalized is mitigating factors. The mitigating factors pretty much will tell the story, and it will give you the roadmap to how you got to the violence. It's like a doctor, you go to the doctor and you start to think about like, okay, this is what's wrong with me. And the good doctors will go back and do a history and say, okay, what happened at this point? And then they could kind of do a diagnosis based upon doing that examination. What we tend to do is go immediately to the crash and panic, which is reasonable. It's like natural, right? But you can't only go to the crash if the person examining the crash site will go back and look at the speed. Okay, it takes this, you have to be going this fast in order for it to hit like this, to cause this type of damage. We don't do that with our young people, right? I was a kid that suffered trauma my whole life, from molestation to physical violence to being shot by my brother. Like, people don't know, and I share this not to embarrass my family, but to let people know we have to stop hiding our hurts, and we have to begin to unpack them. And so in 1979, my brother shot me in the chest with a 12-gauge shotgun. And so I'm not just someone talking about violence. I know it personally. I was a victim who became a victimizer because my trauma went unaddressed. And sadly, I'm not unique. Sadly, there are thousands of young men and women and non-binary young people who are experiencing trauma, who are experiencing neglect in school, right? And so they're not getting the access or the directions on how to cross the bridge of life, right? Many of us look at them and be mad because they're so, they're despicable and you've done this horrible thing. But my job is to say to people, like, no one is unredeemable, in my humble opinion. And that we have to talk to people to bring them across the bridge. Every time I walk across the bridge as an educator, I always carry a bucket of water. And I tease people all the time. They say, why you got the bucket of water? I say, because somebody's going to start a fire. Because somebody is going to be so angry about what happened that they're not going to be willing to listen, right? And you can't get to healing without listening, right? And so for me, the work is, so from the work that I do at the Illinois Prison Project, which is I fight against mass incarceration, I fight against what we call the dangerous one-sided narrative, which is all the horrible things that happen. And it's so easy to become intoxicated with the pain, right?
For the person perpetrating it.
Well, no, I'm saying usually, sadly, the person responsible, like I'll use me. I was the person responsible for the death of Mr. Folk Peterson. And the judicial system as it's designed is designed to be an adversarial system. And so why I had a character that wanted to, it was me, I'm sorry, I did a horrible thing. I was immediately told, shut up. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have a right to attorney. And so a system of processes are set up rather than getting to the facts, rather getting to what caused the harm to stop it. If someone is bleeding, they want to put something on it to stop it. So if violence is happening, why aren't we putting something on it to stop it? We're patrolling trauma rather than unpacking it.
Agreed.
Agreed.
I'm
sorry. Yes.
Agreed. Well, do you think that violence in the city has evolved in the last decade?
I actually don't. I know it's hard. We have such access to information right now that everything is right in your face, right? Do I think horrible things happen? Yeah, I turned the TV on today and it was like a shooting in the loop. And it was like, I'm like, ooh, that's horrible. What happened? Who lost a loved one? Those are things that we have to figure out how to address. I do think that there's not enough attention being given to community healing. There's a lot of attention being given to, we need more patrol officers. I think we need more therapists than officers, right? I think we need to figure out the community that we want to live in, right? Without excluding people because they're broken. It's like we can have initiatives to throw money. We just throw money at stuff rather than real solutions. And I'm a country boy. I know I might not look like it, right? But I'm a country boy. And I think about things like, if you're going to plant a seed, you have to first prepare the ground for it. And most of our community is, deserts. We have a lack of almost everything you can think of.
From education to food.
Education, food, health. The things, the services that you just opened up with. Imagine if we can get that message really out, to the community in a way that tomorrow people are lined up you can't serve the amount of people. I want to encourage people, everybody say, hey, listen, have you been tested? Hey, have you been tested for COVID? Have you been tested for cancer? I learned from an event with you, Dana, that men could actually have breast cancer. And I was doing all this stuff because the lady showed me what to do. And I was like, ooh, okay, I need to pay attention to this. Yeah. And I was excited because I learned something. Right? And then I shared it with all my buddies. Let me get out of here. So I still want to get back with you to do a follow-up, right? And bring the brothers in to have that conversation. But my point is education is vitally important to our survival.
Yes.
Right? In prison, they have this thing called peer educators. And the peer educators, I was one of them.
Right.
And so anyone that come into the prison, I would be the person to say, hello, my name is Renaldo Hudson. Welcome to the Danville Correctional Center. My job is to talk to you about your rights versus your privileges. If they can take it, it's a privilege. If they can't, it's a right. You have a right to you have a privilege to go to commissary. You have a right to go to trial, right? And so whatever was available, it was my job to share that. Guess what? Once people got into those spaces, you start realizing the majority of the people that was returning to prison was for domestic violence. Domestic violence is linked to a lack of proper education. So 57% of people when I was in prison were functioning illiterate, which made it a question of what is their comprehension level. And when people are made, especially among men, if you make me feel ashamed, I want to strike out. If you make me feel a little pride, I want to work out. right? And so we have to figure out like how to rejuggle, like how do we recalibrate and help people to see things more sanely? Because the violence is really, it's a testament of who we are as a nation, to be really frank. Every conflict that we deal with it with force. Even when you talk about law enforcement, they don't look like someone serving the community. They look like someone like patrol is military. And I'm saying, I understand, but we have to do something different. And so my opinion is like what we do and what I do is we go around and do presentations on things like thawing out theory. With the Illinois Prison Project, we have a training of what does it mean to thaw out? Well, imagine if you went to your freezer, I know you cook, right? And you start pulling stuff out of the refrigerator, what you discover is everything that froze didn't stay fresh.
Correct.
Like, it's some stuff you got to throw away.
Right.
What I discovered,
doesn't freeze well.
And it did, right? And what I discovered was that, I'm still thawing out. I've been home 4 years. Emotionally, I was very smart. Like, I'm really smart. I am, right? But I wasn't matured in the realities of what the world has become. And so I've learned so many lessons of like, man, I have to be better. I have to listen more, right? I have to be even more respectful, right? And I have to extend that not just to people that look gray, but young people, so that they know that they are seen and not like we're not frightened of them. And so a lot of the rejection from young people, in my opinion, is the elders has made them feel, I'm scared of you. And if I'm scared of you, that's what predators pursue fear.
Right.
And so it's really stuff that we're self-producing, even though people don't want to talk about that part of it. But if you get any therapist that's worth their dollar, worth their license, they will break down fear is a real thing about receiving information. Trust. Like, I trust. That's why I opened up saying thank you to you as my friend. Because I know what I ain't going to tell all the stories, but I'm like, when I was fearful of driving, you told me, don't be scared. Right? Hey, dude, like, look at the speed limit. Pay attention to things going on around you. Right? Learn, like, study the test. Let's go get your license. Like, those things are the same things we have to spread out to the community. If I lean in and say, I could trust what you're saying, then that's one more person that's safer. Right?
Okay. The role of social media, do you think that fuels or prevents violence among young people?
I think social media plays a role in character building, period. Do I think it does? Like, you see just as many older people on social media acting out, trying to be seen, trying to be heard. It's only natural to act out. Even babies act out, they perform, etc. Right? I don't think you can blame a tool. Social media is a tool. I think the way it's used is problematic. But I don't think we should get in the role of trying to regulate a tool, right? A wrench or a hammer, it's a tool, right? Instagram, Facebook, those are tools. Not having the proper education about a way to use it is more of a problem. So instant gratification, absolutely, that's problematic. So you do have young people that'll say, I want to be seen, and if people see this and they show it, it's used in that way. But I do think we can use that same tool to give them something else. We're just running from a tool that's not going anywhere. Social media is not leaving, it's only advancing. The artificial intelligence is only making it so much easier for young people to have access, right? So what are we doing in response to the technology? So we need to have conversation to say, if we see them say something, then we should say something. Instead, we're running into the other room and doing this. They just putting all that stuff on them, but what are we showing them different? So it's not the social media, in my opinion, it's the way it's used. But that's just my humble opinion.
Well, there was no rule book or playbook or how to use it. That's probably the problem. It's just boom. It's just
It's a perfect example.
It's like a wildfire,
right? Like a perfect example. With our organization, we do toolkits. For example, one of the things we do as an organization is we help people file executive clemency. It sounds like, ooh, what is an executive?
Yeah, explain
An
that.
executive clemency is a process by which you can file a petition and ask the governor of the state to commute your sentence or to ask him for a pardon. Or we have the terminally ill Joe Coleman, right? Compassionate release bill. With someone who's dying, we can file a petition. So we teach people how to do it. And so we build and have built toolkits step by step. So if we think about violence in a way, let's build toolkits to train people how to think different. So that's a part of my job. I would love to do more trainings on how do you begin to think differently about getting to a specific place. A lot of the struggles with young people is wanting to be seen. Are we asking, why do you want to be seen and what do you want to be seen as? So I think learning how to use, once again, like the toolkits. Like one of our toolkits is the thawing out that I mentioned. Mm-hmm. The thawing out, helping people transition from one concept to the other. From one fear, like when I was driving up Clark toward Target, and I saw when I first came out the downtown landscape, skyline, it frightened me. And people would not, well, you big 300-pound man, why would that frighten you? Because for 30 plus years, I had been in low-level buildings. And seeing those big buildings, the century of it, it was too much. And it was only because I could call somebody like you and say, hey, Dana, right? I'm having this moment. You're like, boy, that ain't nothing. Just keep going. We need to take that same love, that same spirit, and share it with everyone. That's why I love you have a platform. And anytime you call me, I'm showing up, Dana, because I know that we can trust that you care about us, you know? And that is also a major part of what has to happen. You have to have people in this work that care, not just people with the degrees.
So thawing out,
yes,
that's one of your toolkit, one of the things in your toolkit, something else?
Yeah, we have the executive, the clemency. Okay. We have the compassionate release, right? We are working actually on a returning citizen toolkit. With our community navigators are working out the details with that. But I would encourage people to go to IllinoisPrisonProject.org and go to our website and look to see, because it's so much.
And what can they do?
They could do a lot of things. They could follow us. They could become a monthly subscriber, right? I tell people all the time, right? Cars don't move without gas. The movement don't move without cash, right? So we need cash to be able to keep doing the work. But equally, you can volunteer. If not with us, find an organization you can. Like do workshops at the public libraries. Invite us to come speak, because we're always open to coming and educating and sharing. Invite us, Renaldo at the IllinoisPrisonProject.org, right? I will respond. I will show up. My team will show up as well.
Any key challenges that you see to prevent, to sustain?
Yeah, I think we have to really practice the principle of love. Perfect love casts away fear. And I think we're moving into an era where people are really frightened about what just happened with the election, and have to remember that we're people, right? And I want to encourage people, like, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but when it comes, it's like a tree of life. And I think that we can't be fearful, because we just have to do the work. This is no time to lay down and cry, right? If you need to cry, cry when you lay on your pillow at night, but get the work done. And just be inspired and grab somebody and take people with you and start learning. What can I do with what I have, not with what someone else has?
And some more resources that you can recommend if someone wants to learn about violence and prevention.
I would encourage people also, there's a documentary that I'm in called Bloodshed, Understand Violence and Pursuing Peace, right? But there's so many organizations. I encourage people to look and follow Precious Blood Ministry. They have one of the most amazing trainings with restorative justice, Pam, who I love, that if you want to be a restorative practitioner, then you need to be reaching out to them, right? Like the Breathing Room with my man Damon Williams, them over there. I think there's just so many organizations that you could reach out to, and all of these organizations will link you to other people. But more than anything, follow your boy, like Renaldo, because I'm telling you, there are questions that you may want to have answers to, but there's also this thing of the shallow end of the pool and the deep end of the pool. The question is, what end of the pool are you in?
I tell you, I mean, you know, as you can tell, we can sit here with Renaldo and talk to him for a while. There's always so much information. I always enjoy all the conversations I have with Mr. Hudson here. I want to thank you and remind you again, if you need a mammogram, cervical screening, or a medical home, give Equal Hope a call, 312-942-3368. I know they have wonderful programs for women coming home to get mammograms, right?
Oh, yeah. Please be tested.
Yeah. And if your people need mammograms, of course, send them to us.
I promise I will.
We will help them out. We have a Latina navigation team as well. Make sure you're following us on social media, Equal Hope _IL. Make sure you come back next month. December 24th, Christmas Eve. We'll be right here. I want to thank you for watching and have a great Thanksgiving, and I'll see you back here next month. Thank you, Renaldo, for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you, you and you.